All right, we got a packed crew today, so we're gonna cover a lot of ground here. The topic is experiences. This is an anomaly of a week for brand experiences, so we'll probably have to give examples outside of this week because this is not a normal brand week. Although, Judy, you can give as many Pinterest examples as you want. We'll tolerate that. But we're going to talk about brand experiences. I'm going to moderate. My name's Keith Bendies. I'm with Linqia. If you're not familiar, Linqia is one of the largest independent influencer marketing agencies in the world. And this topic, I think we're doing 300% more in-person creator experiential events than we did last year. So brands are very into IRL experiences right now. So it's a very timely topic. Because we're a big group, we wanted to make it a little more interactive and different. So we're gonna do this almost game show style. We're gonna do rounds, and each round will have a different theme, and each of them will get a different question within that theme, so we don't have one question that we're just pounding around. But round one is going to be introductions. So let's start, we could go down the line, name, company, and then the question's gonna be, what is the last brand experience you texted or called a friend about because you thought it was so cool and interesting?
Hi, everyone. I'm Jill Cress. I'm so happy people are here on this Thursday morning, considering it was a late night. So thank you for showing up. This is so good. So after almost 3 decades in financial services, MasterCard, PayPal, Venmo, National Geographic, most recently H&R Block, I've just joined a company called Babylist. Anyone know Babylist? It is the go-to registry destination for modern parents, and it's a really exciting business, and so I'm super excited to be here. I mean, I have to say the Babylist experience is pretty cool, and my algorithm, so I've actually been talking a lot about that, my own brand, because it's new to me. I'm 7 weeks in, and my algorithm is really messed up because before I started looking at all this baby stuff, they were appropriately targeting me for like things like menopause, and now it's like I get menopause and I get baby stuff, and so that's a little weird. I think they're confused by me. But the other one is Duolingo. It's just so much fun, and my family and I were headed to Brazil earlier this year, and so we were all kind of checking in on our progress, and I just loved the fun and community angle of that.
Did you see the owl was here walking on the, which I thought was, I don't know if they have a physical presence as Duolingo, but I think I saw kids who were probably from all over.
Yeah, the week that I would not have wanted to be in an owl costume, for sure.
For a 100-degree owl costume, you'd have to pay me a lot of money.
Oh my gosh, that would be terrible.
Yeah.
All right, Whitney.
Hi, everybody. Whitney Magnuson. I am the head of brand and media at Zoom. So excited to be here. Thanks for being here on a Thursday. For me, the last brand experience that I was like, oh man, I wish I did that. I wish I stole that. I actually recently did judging for the Drum, and I got to see the campaign that One Battle After Another, the Leonardo DiCaprio movie, did. And it blew my mind. They created this entire virtual gaming experience where you got to join the resistance, just like in the movie. And then they actually brought that to life in various cities as well. And people, like, you could tell that the people that were participating, they actually thought they had joined the resistance. And it was just such a well done execution that really got the flavor and spirit of that film into the community experience and really helped get that buzz going even further. But of course, it was a great movie, so it was probably good source material to work from. Yeah.
Awesome. I love that movie. Also very good. And I saw that one. My name's Ashley Kechter. I'm the global president of Vuori. If you don't know Vuori, it's an athleisure brand. We've been around for about 11 years, and it was founded in California, Encinitas specifically. In terms of an activation or an experience that I shared and I thought was really well done, recently, and it's fresh up top of mind for anyone that is either in New York or a Knicks fan, but I was really blown away by the work that Say did, where they became the sole beauty sponsor for the NBA in the Knicks, right? It's a male audience, or you would assume it is, but I think what their founder saw was it was heavy female, almost 50% in the stadiums are female, and so they took advantage of that opportunity, and they didn't just activate in one little thing in isolation. They really spread their marketing efforts across the entire time, and they got a ton of media and press from that, so I thought it was a really smart play for them.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Great to be here. I'm Lucy Werner. I lead partnerships for Marriott. So that is our strategic alliances and loyalty ecosystem. And then we've also got a big focus on our experiential platform where we create sports, music, outdoors, and F&B experiences. So I will say there's two sort of hot themes this summer that we're bringing to life, which I've been deluged with requests for. The first is Celine Dion's comeback in Paris. We're hosting her with exclusive moments. So I've lost count how many pings I've got for ticket requests and how we're bringing that to life. And then the second is FIFA. So we're a FIFA World Cup sponsor, and we're actually activating that with Visa, our partnership. So we're kind of doing 360 activations around that and bringing it to life in our hotels, but also in the stadium with other brands. So those are two areas to highlight.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Judy Lee. I'm the Senior Managing Director of our in-house creative team called the House of Creative at Pinterest. And funnily enough, we do nearly 98% of all of our creative work in-house, which is something I'm really proud of because I think a lot of the work that you may have seen recently from Pinterest was all created by my colleagues, including the Pinterest Manifestival. How many people have had a chance to go down there? Yeah? Okay, good. So I think overall, of course, I love what we're doing at the Manifestival. This is the 4th year we brought back tattoos. I got a croissant, still healing. But I think if you do want to leave with a lasting artifact of Cannes, that's an easy thing to do. But in terms of other experiences I saw, there are two that were notable for me this past summer. I think building off the FIFA element, I think what Levi's did as part of their sponsorship and covering up their iconic Batwing logo and then just activating all the channels around that, I thought was a really smart, very responsive, and literally iconic. And something that's a little more niche for people who live in Brooklyn, which is where I'm from. If anyone knows the special pain of trying to go from Prospect Park to Williamsburg, it is not easy, I will say. A very indirect route by public transportation. The Ordinary, the skincare brand The Ordinary, built a bus that takes you from Prospect Park to Williamsburg. And I'm like, I don't know what story they're trying to tell, but this was genius. And it had all of us Brooklynites talking, especially heading into summer.
I love that. Even, I think some of it is notoriety or notability, or even you look at your experience in the tattoos and people have polarizing opinions of would you get one, would you not get one, what is this, who's doing this? But I think at the end of the day, people are talking about it. And so sometimes doing unexpected things is often the best thing you could do. So I love that. All right, round one. We're gonna go to round one. Round one, we're gonna build the perfect experience together and build upon each other. The reason I wanted to do this is to get into your minds and how you think of what you value when you make investments in this space. So this is round one. All right, so I'm gonna set it up. You have $5 million. Goal is not impressions at all. The goal is to create something people voluntarily tell their friends about, per my last question, that they remember. That's great. Each of you gets to make a move. I'm gonna ask each of you to build in a different part of this experience. Jill, you have the most open-ended one, I feel like, so a little challenging, but what's the first thing your mind goes to of where I'm spending this money on?
Lucky me that I get to start because I can set the tone. Well, we just made a big bet. And so if I had $5 million, I'd think location, location, location. I'm building a showroom in New York City, in Soho now for me, it's specific to Babylist, but I love the idea of an experiential showroom to bring a brand to life.
Okay, so we have a showroom in New York. Ashley, you can add one thing to this showroom. What is being put into this showroom?
I wanted a space within the showroom for communities to come together and engage, right? So whether I'm Vuori, so we like our workout space, we like wellness spaces, so anything that would enable us to bring our community in and to experience how we like to show up as a brand.
Love that. Sport Beach has the morning sessions. They're always crowded and packed. The Wellness Oasis at LinkedIn had meditation things. I think this idea of collectively doing something together as a community is becoming one of the core pillars of experiential. All right, Whitney, your Zoom. We got to make this scalable. It can't just be about the people in the room.
That's right.
What are we going to do to make this thing scalable?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, we got to justify this thing to our CFO, right? So important to make it scale. I see so often now that brands think about experiential without thinking of like, how am I actually going to translate this into a virtual experience? How am I going to get it into the kind of broader ecosystem? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up some virtual events that are for people outside of New York to participate, but we're going to have some exciting surprise and delight just for that virtual audience. Some merch drops, some other goodies, some celebrity drop-ins, and then we're going to bring in creators to help tell that story of the experience as well. And then those creators are going to clip the experience and get it out there long after the event ends.
Love it. I think there's also a lot of the New York things like Ramp was mentioned a lot this past year because it's more of a boring B2B, but they did a very interesting box where the guy from The Office was kind of doing all the taxes and whatever, and it went viral. And so I think the idea of designing for social and digital as well, to your point, that 5 million has to have a return. The return is very hard if it's only on the people who come through the door. And so designing for digital, bringing creators into it, I think is a really good build. Okay, Judy. This is Pinterest. You're going to have to make this much more visually irresistible. What's happening to make this visually irresistible?
Yeah, so I think where we are right now at Brand Innovators is a good metaphor. There's a lot of buzz around us, a little bit hard to concentrate. You get sucked into your phone or computer. No judgment, just saying. And so with experiences, you really need to work that much harder. And for us at Pinterest, we're ditching the traditional playbook around experiences a bit. And since we are a visual search discovery platform, everything we do has that kind of platform of visually arresting. And so for us, we're really designing for IRL. And I think what people find really fascinating is, we're not trying to design for the feed. We're trying to design for the people who actually make it in as much as possible. And I think part of that is just delighting people, making sure, like at least here, that you're not part of a sea of sameness. I think 4 years ago when we started bringing the Pinterest Manifestival here, we were like looking around and saying, wait, for a festival of creativity, it wasn't very creative in terms of how brands showed up. And so we're like, okay, let's ditch all the tropes that you get with Cannes and really think about building something beautiful that creatives would be attracted to, would want to come to, and really create that beacon. And so for us, it's just as much visual inspiration as it is action and giving people something to do with their hands while they're there.
I read a lot of psychology, like it just fascinates me, consumer psychology. So I went to Pinterest a few times, I went to Canva, and the lines of those two have been some of the longest. And so I just was asking people like why, especially more of the consumers and less the creators, the visitors, the students, like why are you here? Like why'd you wait so long? And the most common answer is like, it just looks really, it just looked really beautiful and different and colorful. And I think that's fascinating how sometimes we skip the visual cues and get straight to the other things when that might draw the biggest line of anything we're doing. Okay, Lucy, Marriott, let's stick with your theme.
Okay.
Let's get people to stay involved after the event. So they came, they went to Ashley's great experiences, they loved the visualness of it, they saw the creators, like how are we gonna get them to engage afterwards?
Yeah, so I think there's actually opportunity to expand your showroom into our hotels. So we launched boutiques. So if you pop by the JW, you'll see our boutiques installation. So maybe we could take your brand and do a collab with one of 38 brands like Ritz Kids and extend that across our properties and help, amplify your brand, extend it into a physical product that we could actually pull through boutiques and collaborate together.
Love it.
I want to partner with all of you. You're just building
let's
on
make
all,
it happen.
all of the
Perfect.
work. I love it. Watch this space. We might be back here next year bringing this to life.
I do think brand partnerships is the most underutilized tactic that any brand could go execute
Yeah.
against. I really do think that's that's natural virality is just unexpected brand partnerships. And even with creators, a lot of the marketers I talk to, and they're, what should we be doing? What should we be doing? I said, honestly, from a logistics and a manufacturing and a supply chain standpoint, you need to figure out a way to do LTOs where you could just run through limited time partnerships for the virality, for the sell-through, for the cultural relevance, because a lot are not set up for that, even from a logistical standpoint.
Yeah, can I just build on that? I think we, this time last year at Cannes, we launched our media network, Marriott Media, and we did a piece of research on the psychology of travel. And what we found is that 75% of people, when they're traveling, are open to discover new brands and will actually spend unplanned purchases. So I think that really showcases like the opportunity for those brand partnerships, because people want to go shopping, they want to discover new brands. So we've actually really leaned in with boutiques to doing more brand collabs that we pull through online, and actually amplify that in the hotels in terms of activation, but also with the media network, because that's what the consumers love.
And I will definitely say I shop way more when I'm traveling. I'm a little guilty of that here at Cannes. And something that was really surprising for us in our Pinterest space, because at first we used to think of it as like a B2B moment, but because there are so many creatives and so many people here, we now treat it more like a consumer moment. And so inbound demand to partner with us, at first I'm like, wait, what's happening? So for instance, this year we're partnering with Sephora because we're creating the Pinterest Bleach Club, which is all about either bleaching your tips. So if you do see some bright color on hair, we also do hair stenciling. And if you're not ready to bleach your hair, because my stylist would kill me, we also are bleaching shirts. But Sephora partnered with us to gift hair aftercare as part of it, and it was just like the perfect thing that really helps the people that come through and enjoy the experience.
Yeah, creating an actual experience. It's a weird dichotomy right now where people are hungrier than ever to get the hell out of their house and do stuff, but it's harder than ever to get them to do that because of what they have in entertainment at their... I heard someone talk earlier and they said phone calls to moms and dads are down by some crazy percent because what you used to ask them, you just go to ChatGPT for. And so the idea that human interaction is declining, yet the hunger to have human interaction is increasing, it's such a weird dichotomy. So it puts pressure to say, if I'm gonna get you out of the house, it's because I have something that is unique and different in an experience, which leads us to round two. Round two is finishing the sentence. Judy, we'll start with you and go back. So the most overrated thing marketers spend money on is...
So I'm going to pivot a little bit and say undervalued. And so I think there's one thing that really strikes me is that treating your customers and users like they're intelligent and not kind of aiming for the lowest common denominator. And I think with that, that's where we get to a place where we can tell more unique stories. It's not just about like working with the masses. And when we think about experiences, as you said, it's a really intimate audience, generally speaking, or if you're at Coachella, it's a massive audience, and really thinking about what's on their mind. And what you're saying is that we found that Gen Z, 40% of them wish that social media was never invented. And that led to this insight for Coachella, where we decided to do a phone-free experience and really give people what they wanted, which was to put their phone down in probably the most videoed place on earth in April. And that really resonated and created a lot of discussion in a way that really balanced out, that need to measure everything as a marketer. But I think the overall earned media value and the buzz that we created by giving people something that they wanted, but maybe had never articulated. And so for me, that always comes back down to serving our customers.
But I think the key there, right, is that you found that pain point first, right? And it's the same with just how you would launch a great brand campaign. You have to start with that human insight that really is a need for your users or in your community. Zoom just did a similar, found a similar pain point that we may have created a little bit, which is that a lot of people are sitting on Zoom meetings eating a sad salad at their desk instead of taking a lunch break, like guilty, right? And so when we heard that the lunch break was disappearing, we thought, well, how can we give our users back lunch, show them how to use our AI tools and products like Zoom8 to be able to take a 30-minute lunch. And so we recently did a pop-up in New York where we serve smash burgers and kind of like a retro punk diner. And we heard so much from people like, thank you for realizing that like this is actually a struggle every day, and I feel so much better when I take this break for myself. It's leaning into that humanity that's really the key there.
The brief is in the comments, right? I think for so many brands, it's right there. The consumers are talking about it, and it's right there.
I so agree with that. And I think, there's been so much discussion about the role of community this week. And I think, we're pivoting on your question hard, but I think the thing that brands don't do enough of and have an opportunity to do is to really, really be ready to jump into culture when it makes sense for their brand. So 2 quick examples. When I was at H&R Block, there was a little engagement with a famous Kansas City football player. When I was at H&R Block, they are headquartered in Kansas City. So when the Swelsey engagement happened and it rocked the world, it definitely rocked Kansas City. So we did something fun, and we told all of our Kansas City-based employees that they could take the afternoon off and go home and celebrate love. We're a brand that life moments are tax moments, so when people get engaged, it's a tax moment, and we decided to do that. We published the note from our head of people, went completely viral, 1 billion impressions later. We had so much fun with that. And then in a more purpose-led situation, Babylist, when there were the tragic fires in LA, mobilized all of our people and partners to go to LA to help replace the things that parents needed for their babies. And you talked about partnerships earlier. What was so rewarding were 160 of our manufacturing brand partners leaned in. We gave over $2 million of baby goods to 1,000 families who were in need and lost everything. And so I just think that's where brands can really be relevant to their audience, but you have to be able to be nimble and jump into culture and what's happening in a way that is true to your brand.
So I guess I asked what they overspend. What I'm hearing is it's more like they underspend on listening. Or not underspend, but it should be the bigger focus is listening, because I think at the end of the day, that's the entire job we have now, is to just listen better and then build a process to react to all that great listening that we're doing to the market. Okay, well, Jill, we're staying with you. A creator is more valuable than a celebrity, or a celebrity is more valuable than a creator when?
Oh gosh, it's really, really hard to choose. I think, we look at it from micro influencer up to, creator, influencer, celebrity. It really matters what is the job you are trying to do. And I think celebrity can be really relatable, and you can definitely reach an audience. Creators are so huge to what we do at Babylist, because the journey of becoming pregnant to having your shower to having your baby to becoming a first-time parent, all of the things that you need, everything that's on your mind, depending where you are in the overwhelmingness of it all, creators who can speak in a really relatable way to where you are in that journey is really important. We're now launching financial services to help parents be able to ask the community of gifters around the baby to contribute into a 529 or a 530. So that's bringing us into a whole new realm of financial, finfluencers who can help explain that. So it's what is the product? What is the audience? And I think, on a more regular basis, we turn towards creators, but a celebrity and a big time influencer can also be right.
Especially in parenting, right? Parenting's huge. And what about in athleisure? I'm sure it's just as big in terms of what people are listening to and who people are listening to.
Yeah, here's my thinking around this, because we've got both in our brand, right? We're working with big partners like a Tom Holland, and then we're working with a micro program and a macro program. And for us at Vuori, I think the benefit we've seen of leaning into our creators is when we're leaning into those micro communities and to the local communities as we expand. And so as we grow internationally, of course, everyone knows Tom Holland, but a celebrity that isn't as large as him may not have the reach we need internationally. And so leaning into local talent to really build that brand awareness has proven very beneficial for us.
Yeah. I'm curious, Lucy, because it's so geo-focused, but you are everywhere, how do you balance that between, global recognition versus very hyper-localized recognition?
I mean, it's a great question. We're still learning, right? Because we're newer in our international expansion. So we expanded into China last year. We're in Korea. We're in the Middle East, expanding into Mexico later this year. So we are really tapping into the market specifically where we know we're going to grow, whether it's stores that are coming or where we need to build more awareness with our e-com. But we're using the global partners we have to represent the brand across the board. And so we're leveraging both. And I would say it's a little bit balanced right now in terms of tapping into both celebrity and creator in those local markets.
Lucy, same for you, because you are massively global.
Yeah, absolutely. So Marriott's 10,000 hotels, almost 150 countries and 38 brands. So it's quite broad. And I would say that what we try to do is make sure that there's freedom within the framework, but that there's consistency of brand. So when we look at experiential and then we look at, creators and how we storytell, we really show up in sports, music, outdoors and F&B, and cultural moments, right? And so what we do is we figure out what is global that'll resonate or how we localize that. So if you look at music, there'll be partnerships with Live Nation and AEG. Some tours, like Taylor Swift, will be more global, but then we figure out, are they local music artists? And sports similar, right? So we've got like F1 that's global, but then we've also got partnerships with cricket that leans more into like APAC, right, and EMEA. And so I think it's figuring out having enough breadth of spaces that each of the regions can find the right space for their brands and for their customers.
It's interesting at creator shows when the creators come and there's up and coming creators and things, there's interesting conversation. And oftentimes I'll say the demand for lifestyle creators from brands has never been so low. Every brand wants a niche. Every brand wants a sports angle, a deep athletic angle, a pharmacist, a doctor, a financial expert, and they want if you go into TikTok now, half my feed is San Francisco-based stuff. It's all very localized recommendations. So it's very interesting talking to creators who used to always say, we want to vlog and we want to do day in the life. And now it's like, unless you have a really unique angle, you better be the top 1% of creator doing that, or else you're not going to have a long career as a creator.
Well, I'm building off of that. I'm definitely being geo-targeted in Cannes. So if anyone's looking at their social feeds, I'm like, I didn't know that there were this many advertising creators around our industry. And for this year, knowing that Lions invited so many creators to the festival, I see more coverage by the niche creators than I do by the ad trades. Hopefully they're not here to hear that. But that's something that I just remarked. And now I'm definitely following a few new creators that actually offer incisive insight, represent the audiences we're looking to serve. So that was a big shift that I've seen for this year.
That's a really good call. All right, I'm not going to call on someone for this because I want you to be able to say if you want to say, but I did want someone to tell us about an activation that thought would be amazing, but was not successful. It could be where you are today, it could be where you were in the past, but like a vulnerable why. Why wasn't it successful if you thought it would be successful? Does anyone want to dare take this?
I would share that I think with any activation, it's like how you measure success, right? So if you're not clear of like the consumer need and how they would engage with it, potentially the metrics or the KPIs that you would think pull through might not pull through. So for example, if we think about an experiential space like music tours that people would kind of come into our ecosystem and enroll with us as a member, potentially that doesn't always translate. It's more engagement of existing members. So I think it's being clear on the job to be done.
Yeah, I also see, I won't name a specific brand, but I think that a lot of people say, webinars are dead. And yet some of our top customers are actually using webinars. They might not call it a webinar. They might call it a meetup or a virtual hang or whatever. But the technology is there. And they're thinking about these in completely different ways that are making it feel less like a sign up to learn this thing over your one free hour in the day and more like a community experience, right? So, a great example I've shared a few times this week. We often work with Jade Powell. She's a wonderful creator that's here at Cannes. She's doing I think it's the Chronically Online Summit. She's partnered with a brand to do that. But if you looked at the registration for this, you would have no idea, right? It's all about, she has created this virtual experience. She's invited other creators to speak to it. They're doing the promotion. And so I think it's really, instead of like coming in with what your brand is trying to say as like shouting from a megaphone, thinking about how you can co-create either with a creator, with a partnership to invite people into that experience. I think that's where I'm seeing people have success. And if they're not doing that they're probably not getting out of it what they want.
I think something, oh, sorry, do you want to go ahead? Okay. Something I think about just as a general theme around what you just asked is the tolerance for risk as a brand, and that being tied to creativity. I can't decide with AI if that tolerance for risk has decreased. I think it has from a general business perspective. Because they're like, well, didn't you check it against AI? But for me as a creative, I'm like, no, because AI looks at what's already been done before versus that gut instinct, very human thing that you would never think that would break away. And we know our industry is obsessed with the never been done before, and you're not going to get that from AI. And so that's something I currently am grappling with, is like, what is that tolerance for risk? In the creative team, we have a very high tolerance for a risk. We often say, go for the A+ or the F-, which is very easy to do. But I think in this new world that we're living in, that's something we have to navigate.
I love that, Judy. I think that is absolutely something that's so critical as brands start to think about experiential. And I think sometimes, in my experience, what hasn't maybe gone well is when I think the experiential is going to do one thing or two things. And so I've really learned to like kind of open up the aperture with lots of hypothesis around the things that could happen with an activation, so that my team doesn't get disappointed if the one or two things that we thought would happen don't play out. And we're constantly learning through experiential, because I think, oftentimes there's unexpected magic, and it's not the thing that you thought would happen.
The best producers, as you know, Judy, are unfazed by anything with experiential, because 25 things are going to go wrong no matter what you do. The reason we did round one, though, the way that we did it, is too often in experiential, all of those questions don't get asked. And so the ones that have gone wrong in my career, it was, we did this amazing thing for these people, but didn't think about the scalability. Or we had these amazing speakers, but we didn't think about community building and activities. Or we had this great thing on site and we didn't give any attention to what happened after the on-site happened. And so I don't think enough times the people are at the table who actually impact all of those touch points, and those conversations are had early enough. It's usually, oh my God, we finally figured it out, and what about this and what about this, and can we throw that on top? So that's why we did round one.
I think that was one of my favorite panel questions ever. I love that we were able to do that question and hear from everyone from a creative standpoint, as opposed to like, these are the three things my comms person wanted to make sure I got out on the panel. So,
well, and you got a great activation out of it for Babylist.
Exactly. Lucky me.
Well, I'm glad all of your PR teams approved these questions. All right, final round in closing. What is one brand community you are very jealous of? We could start with Jill and go down.
I have been a big fan of Airbnb for a long time, because I'm someone who loves to travel and I love doing really cool things when I travel. And I think the way that they have activated experiences and the local thing that we've talked about, like the ability to go to a new place and be able to connect with someone locally who can help you explore that thing that's been on the top of your bucket list. And I think they do beautiful storytelling and beautiful, beautiful creative.
So I have to say, I wrote a whole thing on this because the experiences, so Brian Chesky basically said, like, experiences are amazing. We're not getting enough locals. It's all tourists, and we need to get locals. So he said, you know what we're going to do? The creators in the localities are going to be the experiences. So I'm from San Francisco. He's like, let's get SF creators to give tours or to do experiences. That will draw the locals who love these SF creators. There was a fascinating article on this where he dives into the numbers of what was local, what was not, how did that change when they started using local creators. I love this topic. I'm very deep
really
into this
obsessed
topic.
with this. It's cool. Yeah.
All right, Whitney.
Taylor Swift, right? And yes, the woman is a brand. Don't mistake that. She is 100% a brand. And the way that she has activated that brand community, I think is the envy of everyone. I mean, Swifties will get in online fights, like family member fights, if someone insults Taylor Swift in their presence. So would love to have that type of brand support.
And the clues, I think brands could take lessons from how you do things in a launch or how you have little things that people could discover in your community, which gets the chatter. I think she does that better than anybody.
Is she going to get married this weekend at MSG? It's so
We'll see.
she's just she's just really like.
Well, but like you even
teasing
think
it out.
about the Eras tour, right? And like those moments when she's on stage, she did that performance, like 300 times? And she'll be like, oh, I've never seen this before. Like, you know, it's a staged moment, but it's done really well. And it brings that community in so that they feel like they're part of it for the very first time, even though it's her, 107th time doing that same thing.
I'm obsessed with Taylor, so that was a fantastic example. I think for me, a brand that I really admire right now, and maybe because it's close to the space that Vuori's in, is On Running. I think for them, their creative cuts through in a really strong, cohesive way. They're like exemplifying their storytelling through their community. I think they've done an amazing job of creating local micro communities that are a content engine for them, and their results are incredible. So I think for me, it's like the results are there, and you can see that through the marketing they've done.
Yeah, that Zendaya commercial was phenomenal. Phenomenal.
Yep.
Staying on the theme of health and wellness, a brand I think has done a great job building community, but also engagement is Solid Core. So it's the Pilates brand. They've got an incredibly engaged community. Like anyone that tries to get into class, it's almost impossible. It's sold out. But they've also really thought about the ecosystem of complementary brands, and they actually really engage their community in terms of creating content and storytelling, like how the brand has transformed their lives with a campaign Stronger For It.
And I'm going to bring us home with the brand innovators community. I think
There it is.
Well done, Judy.
no one paid me. No one paid me. But I just love the people who show up to the talks. Any event I go to is always filled with great people, and you can have great conversation. So kudos to BI.
All right.
Absolutely.
This on stage at one time is a treat. So can we give these ladies a round of applause? And thank you so much for joining early.